smoking or any habitual behavior becomes intertwined with who we think we are, especially if it helps us cope with stress or anxiety. And food falls into this category for some of us. Emotional eating can... Good morning. The time now is 5:03. Running slightly late. Yeah, been a bit of a slow morning. Didn't sleep fantastically well, and that has trickled into my entire morning so far. Took me forever to get out of bed, took me forever to get ready, felt like it took forever to drive here, and now I am sitting in the parking lot. It's going to be a good session. Monday is always a good day. I love a bit of pushing, so it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good week, and otherwise, yeah, I've got a lot to look forward to this week and a lot to do. So I'm going to get on with it, and I will see you after the session. And we're back. So, great session was had, and the time now is 6:49. Yes, I felt strong. I felt like Superman, and that was part of the reason why it was a good session. The other part was just because I made a point of focusing on every lift and every rep. It was about focusing on the moment rather than just trying to get through to the end of each set. And I think for the first time in a long time, I was able to connect with muscles that I felt disconnected from. So it was a great feeling to sort of be getting back into it properly, for lack of a better description. My brain feels mushy. Otherwise, I walked out of the gym and there's a guy, I'm not going to show you now, but he's sitting over there. He's smoking a cigarette. And you may not know this about me, but I was a smoker for a long time, about 22 years, 23 years. And I gave up beginning of 2020, so about 5 years ago. And I still have cravings, and especially like now, I walked out of there and just smelt the secondhand smoke and was completely consumed by this massive craving to smoke a cigarette. And it's weird because it doesn't always happen. I don't always crave cigarettes. I'm very happy that I don't smoke. I feel much better. I feel much healthier. And I have felt much healthier for about 4 years. But it is interesting how these cravings just return out of nowhere. I mean, often I'll be walking somewhere and I'll walk past somebody and get a whiff of that secondhand smoke, and it'll make me feel ill. So it's not even every time I smell a cigarette. It's just, I don't even know what it is. I don't know, maybe it's the nostalgia. It's the look on his face of just complete satisfaction. But anyway, it's interesting because it took me literally years to stop smoking. It took me a hell of a long time. And willpower was the one thing that I kept trying over and over and over and over. And I kept failing at maintaining a non-smoker status. So I will get into that a bit more in the office and sort of explain a little bit more about that, because there are parallels between smoking and eating, but it's different. Anyway, I am going to get out of this parking lot and go and have breakfast, and I will see you in a couple of seconds. And now we're in the office. So, getting back to my smoking and my lack of willpower. The truth is that I was always able to talk myself into overriding my willpower, so it was super ineffective. I tried to quit smoking probably, 100 times. I failed every time because my willpower just wasn't enough to overcome the addiction. And as I mentioned earlier, it's been about 5 years since I gave up, and a lot of the reason was because I discovered that consistency and good habits could get me through circumstances that willpower alone just couldn't. Smoking or any habitual behavior becomes intertwined with who we think we are, especially if it helps us cope with stress or anxiety. And food falls into this category for some of us. Emotional eating can sometimes be a hugely habitual learned behavior, like when we eat because we're stressed, or we eat whenever we stare at a screen, or we eat because we had a fight with our partners. Letting go can feel like losing a part of ourselves. There's comfort in the familiar. That's why it's called comfort food. Even if the habit's harmful, the known comfort can outweigh an unknown future without it. And then sometimes the thought of, what if I fail again, can be paralyzing. We may unconsciously avoid trying again so we can protect ourselves from the disappointment of another failure. But then the other side of that coin, the fear of success, is also a thing. And that's a whole other kettle of fish, because it can challenge your old, very firmly held beliefs about what's possible. And obviously stress, boredom, social pressure, these triggers can stir up old emotional patterns that food or cigarettes or any other habits were helping to numb or soothe. And if you haven't replaced that emotional coping strategy with something healthier, like exercise or meditation, or even just taking a walk, the old habit resurfaces when emotional tension is high. For me, I used to tell myself it's either total success or total failure, leaving no room for learning from my mistakes. And that thinking can absolutely create feelings of hopelessness. If you slip up even once, which leads to falling into the same old cycle of just giving up. And that has a nasty habit of going straight to the negative self-talk. Like, I'm weak, I'll never be able to do this, I'm a loser. Insert your own form of punishing negative self-talk here. And over time, these negative messages actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start believing the story you're telling yourself. For me, changing my mindset around being a smoker was a super gradual process. I still thought of myself as a smoker for a couple of years after. I think to some extent, I still identify as a smoker on some levels. Like I said, I still have cravings occasionally. I know that it's an emotional response to my life in the moment, and I never act on the cravings. And at first, there was this kind of internal tug of war. Part of me still thought, but I've always been a smoker, while another part wanted to break that pattern and fully own the label of non-smoker. In that situation, you're letting go of a habit and sometimes a social ritual. And that used to be a part of your daily life and your definition of self. So, instead of saying, I'm trying to quit, I made a point of reframing to a more confident statement, like, I don't smoke. And that simple reframing was a huge step in rewiring how I saw myself. It took a long time to actually take root and become a habit. But once it did, it was, a revelation. And then I made a point of trying to recognize triggers and cravings as they surfaced. But in all honesty, that wasn't always easy. Realizing I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed rather than automatically just reaching for a cigarette took a long, long time. So if you were to look at your weight loss journey the same way, then you can see that it's less about summoning up endless willpower and more about gently dismantling that old identity you've built around food. Then you replace it with one that naturally gravitates towards healthier habits and makes better choices. An identity that understands where each craving or slip up is actually a chance to learn and not just another source of shame or defeat. Food for thought. I'm gonna get on with my day. I hope you guys have an awesome one. Remember to like this video if you like this video. Share it if you think somebody else will too. And I'll see you in the next one.